David Woolley reveals it's been hell of a ride having a stalker. Sister Wives star Cristin Brown Woolley and her husband, David Woolley, have been traveling around together. Some of their most recent trips include Sedona and Disneyland. While they seem to adore each other, he reveals how it has been a hell of a ride for him to have a stalker. Cristin Brown Woolley is used to people following her, while Sister Wives star David Woolley is getting used to the world of reality TV. He says it is a bit of a shock. Undeniably, seeing himself on TV has almost been an out-of-body experience for him. Likewise, now he is experiencing the phenomenon of being married to Cristin Brown Woolley, who is recognized almost everywhere she goes. When they made a family trip to Disneyland, David got a taste of people afterwards saying they had seen them. On Instagram, Cristin shared the family having a wonderful time, and several fans let them know they were aware. One fan admits, I saw you, but I thought I was going crazy." Another adds, I saw you at Disneyland yesterday. I wanted to say hi." Someone else confirms meeting them. "It was so good meeting you. Like a dream come true. You were so kind in person. Thank you for taking a photo with me yesterday. We saw you guys there, but I did not want to interrupt your family time to ask for a picture. I had my niece's nephew and granddaughter. They were like, 'Auntie, that's one of your favorite sister wives, Janelle being my other, lol, go get a picture.' I said no, she's enjoying her family, do not want to invade their privacy. Hope you all made memories to last. Lifetime, I know we did." While it isn't unusual for David Woolley to be recognized now, especially if Cristin Brown is along, he admits it was strange at first for him to feel stalked. He tells fans about having a stalker for more than a year. David Woolley reveals it's been hell of a ride having a stalker. On Instagram, David Woolley talks about his stalker, Cristin Brown Woolley. Undeniably, he has a great sense of humor, and so does she. He says, "I was in Sedona a few weeks ago. It's really, really pretty there. Just like at Cristin_Browns is. I'm so glad she found me and stalked me." Then, he adds, "This last year has been #a hell of a ride." Furthermore, he has many wonderful things to say about Cristin and the love she brings to their marriage. He adds, she's the most thoughtful, loving, caring person. Likewise, he is all in and ready to be her ride or die for the remainder of their lives. He says, "I'm enjoying this ride and want to just keep riding. #love of me life, #she, #Sedona, #beautiful, #grateful." While stalking can be a very serious matter, thankfully in David and Cristin's case, it brought them together. She stalked you. Wait, stalked you, so she had to stalk you. She stalked you. Love your guys' relationship. Fans weigh in after David Woolley added his cute tribute to Cristin Brown Woolley. Several fans were just glad they found each other. When Cristin and David got married, David's daughter, Katie Charlene Woolley, took credit for helping their efforts of getting together. She says she is the actual reason they are together. She said she manifested their meeting by her exuberance after finding out Cristin was single. But fans are just happy they are together and thriving. "We love that she finally has someone who loves her the way she deserves to be loved. You two are perfect together. I'm glad you found each other. At David__Woolley at Cristin_Browns. You finally found each other and you both deserve it. Keep that love alive and enjoy the ride." Someone even adds to his stalking post, "Love you too. I was at Disneyland yesterday and thought I saw you, Cristin, and truly." David Woolley stood in the middle of his workshop, the soft hum of tools and the smell of sawdust hanging in the air. It was his sanctuary, the place he retreated to when the world outside became too loud, too chaotic. But lately, not even the comforting sounds of wood being shaped under his hands could ease the growing tension that gripped him. He'd always been a private man. Despite his recent surge in public attention, thanks to his relationship with Cristin Brown and their whirlwind romance that had captivated fans of Sister Wives David preferred the quiet life. He never imagined that with the spotlight would come a shadow, a relentless, dark figure lurking at the edges of his life, watching, waiting. At first, the signs were subtle. A strange car parked down the street that seemed to appear more often than coincidence allowed. The occasional unfamiliar face in the grocery store aisle, hovering just a little too long. He brushed it off. After all, his newfound fame meant there were bound to be curious onlookers. People who had watched Cristin's journey were naturally interested in her new partner. But as the weeks turned into months, the attention shifted from flattering curiosity to something more sinister. One night, while lying in bed next to Cristin, David's phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was nearly 2 a.m. A sense of dread washed over him as he reached for it, already knowing what he would see. Another text message from an unknown number. It was the same as the ones before, vague threats, unsettling messages about knowing his every move. This one, however, was different. It included a photo of his workshop, taken from outside, through the window, just hours earlier. He didn't wake Cristin. There was no need to worry her more than she already was. But that night, sleep evaded him. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the eerie sensation that someone was always one step behind him, just out of sight. Weeks passed, and the situation only worsened. There were more photos, more cryptic messages. His social media accounts were bombarded with strange comments. He changed his phone number, but the texts continued. The stalker, whoever they were, seemed to have an endless reach. They knew where he went, who he spoke to, and what he did, down to the smallest details. David tried to keep a brave face for Cristin, for their friends and family, but inside he was unraveling. The constant paranoia gnawed at him, and the once peaceful sanctuary of his workshop became a place of fear. Every creak of the floorboards made him jump. Every shadow seemed to shift and move on its own. Then came the breaking point. It was a crisp autumn evening, and David was locking up his workshop after a long day. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows across the property. As he stepped out into the cool night air, he heard it, a rustling in the bushes. His heart raced as he turned toward the sound, his eyes scanning the dark for any movement. And then he saw it, a figure standing just at the edge of the tree line, half hidden by the shadows. Without thinking, David grabbed the nearest tool, a wrench, and charged toward the figure, adrenaline surging through his veins. But as he got closer, the figure slipped away, disappearing into the night like a phantom. Panting, wrench still in hand, David stood there, the reality of what had just happened sinking in. Enough was enough. The next morning, David contacted the authorities. He had hoped it wouldn't come to this, that the stalker would lose interest or move on, but it was clear now that this wasn't going to stop on its own. The police were sympathetic, but there was only so much they could do without concrete evidence. It was frustrating, knowing someone was watching his every move, tormenting him from the shadows, but feeling powerless to stop it. In the weeks that followed, David took matters into his own hands. Security cameras were installed around his property, and he became hyper-vigilant, always on guard, always scanning his surroundings for any sign of the stalker. The texts and messages slowed, but the feeling of being watched never left. One evening, as he sat on the porch with Cristin, the weight of it all finally hit him. He turned to her, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "It's been a hell of a ride, dealing with this," he admitted, the words spilling out before he could stop them. "I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who'd have to deal with a stalker. I just wanted a quiet life, you know." Cristin reached over, taking his hand in hers, her eyes filled with concern. "I know, David, but we're going to get through this. Together." Her words were comforting, but the reality of their situation was far from over. The stalker was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next opportunity to strike. But for the first time in months, David felt a small glimmer of hope.